What is up, everybody? We are back. We're looking at the Dynasty rookie pick 111. We're almost to the end of the first round. Today is Wednesday, April 26th. We are, 48 or 24 hours away from the draft. Dad, do you have any, Jeff? You know his name, Jeff, Dad. Any special plans for the draft, the first round of
Yeah,
things?
it's finally, these last weeks, or especially the last week or 10 days, has been painful listening to all the rumors and the garbage and things like that. I guess it's nice to hear it, but probably a lot of it's not going to happen. And I'm just looking forward to the two teams that I give a crap about, the Lions and the Chargers, and let's see what they can do. And looking forward to got a couple of dynasty drafts will be coming up in May, so this is a good drill to do to get ready for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We'll see. Finally, see where a lot of these guys go because we're at the point in the we're speculating about this 111, and it's kind of getting to the point of a lot. It's going to depend on where guys go because not everyone's just going to fall how we think it's going to fall. Lots of rumors spread, kind of swirling, and Lamar Jackson maybe is a 49er. And
Yeah, I
this
heard
crazy
that
stuff.
earlier. It's like, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Um, yeah, that would be crazy. Hopkins looks like he's going to the Ravens, and Dalvin Cook says he wants to go to the Dolphins. So, it's like these kind of moves. If they happen now, it's going to change the draft. If they don't happen, if the Dolphins take a running back in the second round, they're not going to trade for Dalvin Cook most likely. So, I don't know. Anyways, we're going to get into it. We're going to talk about the 111 pick, what to expect, what you should do with it, and then some trade values for it. Up until this point, this is for Superflex, of course. Up until this point, we've agreed that Bijan should be gone, of course. The top three quarterbacks going next in CJ Stroud, Bryce Young, and Anthony Richardson, whatever order you want to take those guys is your preference. And then JSN going as the first receiver. And then most likely, assuming they get first round draft capital, Will Levis, Jahmyr Gibbs. Well, Jahmyr Gibbs second round capital, but Levis getting first round capital, assuming he should go and probably in that top 7 or 8. Jahmyr Gibbs should go. Hendon Hooker, we really like, and we think should probably go in the top 8, especially if he gets first round draft capital. Although I just saw a mock draft from PFF actually from Chris Collinsworth, and they said they had Hendon Hooker going in the first round to the Chiefs. So that would be
wow.
I don't know if that would be drafting him at that point. And the logic basically is the only way the Chiefs can lose really is if Mahomes misses time, and why not have a good backup in there and kind of solidify that. So, but if that happens, I don't know if I'm going to be taking him in the first round of my Dynasty rookie mock draft. And then in the 9th, 10th, that's where we started getting to the other receivers. Addison is probably our next receiver off the board. But if you want to switch him with Flowers or Quentin Johnston, we're kind of okay with that too. It kind of depends where these guys go. So we're at the 11th pick. And I think, Dad, for me, it's kind of if Addison and Flowers go 9, 10, I'm probably going to take Johnston. If Johnston and Flowers go, I'm going to take Addison. It's kind of whatever receiver of those three is kind of remaining there, in my opinion, for me. I don't know what you think about that.
Yeah, I would. That might not be bad, but I kind of have it locked into my head. I always try to think of these things as who's gonna produce some points. That's what fantasy football is: players, producing points, and I think, and I can't differentiate between the two. I guess I'd have to wait and see where they're drafted. It's the two tight ends of Michael Mayer or Dalton Kincaid. I think those guys are going to, again, we have to see what team they go to, and but if I have to make a guess here in the next couple of weeks in a dynasty draft, I'm going to draft one of those guys because I think they're going to be put in somebody's offense on an NFL team, and they're going to produce. Is it going to be great numbers? No, but something's going to come out of it. So, and I think it'd be better. I think it'd be better than Quentin Johnson, but I know that's a little bit of a difference of an opinion there.
Yeah, no, it's interesting with the tight ends because we talk about there's a lot of good landing spots for these receivers that are really gonna I don't think everyone's super high on the receiver draft, but to me they all kind of seem like number twos receivers on teams. I think JSN could be a little bit more than that. I think Quinton Johnston has the potential to be like a top receiver, but he also has a huge floor. And then these other guys like Flowers and Addison, they have Josh Downs is another guy from North Carolina. I heard him rumored maybe that the Bills are super interested in him in the first round. All these guys, but to me, they have a ceiling of they're probably wide receiver twos on a team, wide receiver threes or flexes in fantasy leagues. And we talk about these tight ends and all these teams, the Chargers, the Vikings, even the Bills, and all these teams that kind of need a second option. Well, what if they take a tight end? That could be the second option, right? And they could be better than these guys. And it's more valuable if you hit on a tight end, an elite tight end is much more valuable than a wide receiver 3 or flex type of receiver, right? Because the tight end position is so scarce. I like it. I mean, if the Packers is another team, I don't know if I said them. What if Kincaid goes to the Packers? You could see him being the second option on that team behind Christian Watson, right?
Definitely.
So, I like that, and I'm not going to argue too much with that. If both those guys should get first round draft capital, and potentially top 15 for one of them, top 20, there's spots for him for sure. So I like that. What about a guy? So we've gone through, for sure 2 running backs are gone here. What about Zach Charbonnet? I think right now, before the draft happens, is kind of most people's running back 3. That could change if another running back gets taken very high. But let's say Charbonnet goes he gets second round draft capital and he goes to a team again like the Dolphins, really good spot that we like for running backs. Does that change anything for you, Dad? I mean, if he goes in the second round, goes to a team like the Dolphins, are you interested maybe in him here over Quinton Johnston or over the tight ends?
Wow, that would again, and you nailed it perfectly. Going to a team, we know they're going to run the ball. They're dedicated to the run. They know how to run the ball. So the Dolphins, that would be a perfect fit. So that would definitely raise my eyebrows to where I, because we're getting near the end of the guys who are definitely going to be making a possible impact in their rookie year. So, Zach Charbonnet, the Miami Dolphins, I wouldn't have a problem picking him right now. So,
or even what if the Bengals take him at 60 and they move on from Joe Mixon? That's a pretty good spot for Charbonnet. So, for sure. Yeah. And then one more thing I'll throw out there is potentially quarterbacks. If there's a quarterback going in, let's say like a Tanner McKee or something, who we don't know who's going to go, but let's say there's a quarterback who gets drafted to a team like the Lions in the second round or the Buccaneers in the second round. Would you think about taking that quarterback here in a super flex league?
It depends, and I'll throw out another name. The guy from Florida State, what's his name? Hayner, or not Florida State, Fresno State.
Fresno State, yeah,
Hayner.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard a lot of positive things about him. Again, you'd have to see, like you said, you were talking about a quarterback being drafted by the Lions, and the Lions do need a backup quarterback, and but you know that guy's not going to play, for at least a couple of years, probably, so I'm not sure if I would go at this point, if I would go early for those guys. So the second round, third round, and that's where I would start looking at those type of quarterbacks, that are drafted later, that we know that are being talked about in positive way. So
yeah, it starts getting a little like, I feel like with your first round pick, you kind of want to pick someone who you at least is going to have an impact year one. But, we are getting to the end of the first round where that's going to become even, each pick, it gets a little more unrealistic. So I could see, making a case for, for getting one of those guys if they go to, a quarterback goes to like the Buccaneers in the second round. That's a good spot. Like he literally could be starting. He probably won't be starting this year, but, by next year. Anyways, we'll get into some trades that have happened recently for the 111, Dad. We've kind of talked about in previous videos of like these late first round picks. I mean, a lot of people value them maybe more than they should, and they'll trade away established good players for them. And I think this is a good way to stay fantasy relevant, is trade away 109, 110, 111 for like an established player that you know what you're getting with them, and you constantly, you're not taking the crapshoots, right? You're constantly getting someone who's going to produce for you, so your team's competitive. So I have a few of those here. Let me know if you would take them. So this is all 1 for 1. 111 for Marquise Brown, 111 for Nick Chubb, 111 for Derrick Henry, 111 for Rachaad White. Do you like all of those? Any of those? Is there a favorite? Any of them you hate?
Marquise Brown, kind of still waiting for him to kind of be the man. I know he had a okay season. I'm not sure if it was his last Ravens season.
He had a really good start before he got injured. He had a really good start to last year. I think the first 5 weeks he was, and he
doesn't impress me. So
he was wide receiver in a half PPR league. He was wide receiver 6. It was
what?
Cooper Kupp.
I guess I'm wrong.
Cooper Kupp, Stephon Diggs, Justin Jefferson, Devontae Adams, Tyreek Hill, Marquise Brown, and it was basically like he was getting so many catches, which is not what we saw for the Ravens. So there was like, oh, is this what he's going to be? And then he got hurt, and Hopkins came back. But yeah, he had 4 catches, 6 catches, 14 catches, 6 catches, 8 catches, 5 catches his first 6 weeks. So,
I'm not making that trade though for him. For the next guy, Nick Chubb, I think I'd make that trade. That guy doesn't look like he has dropped off at all, and I know he doesn't catch the ball and all that other stuff. He's just a good old-fashioned, good, north-south running back. I like those guys. Figured you can get a couple of years. There's at least a couple more years out of them, I hope. But I would make that trade for 111 for Nick Chubb. I think I would. So
yeah. What about Henry? Do you have the same feeling there? Again, assuming you're a competing team, you have a chance to win the championship. You think Henry has one more year?
Again, he's probably gonna produce this year. I know everybody's waiting for that drop off. I personally don't think it happened last year.
No, he had 1,500 yards.
What's that?
He had 1,500 yards.
Yeah,
And
well, that's why I'm
yeah.
saying I knew he had quite a few yards. I know we're kind of used to seeing him do some pretty cool things, and having big
Mhm.
games and stuff like that. I'd make that trade too.
Yeah.
For 111 for Derrick Henry, sure, why not? Take my
And
pick.
then, yeah. And then one more straight up we had was Rashad White. Would you do that on Wednesday, April 26th?
Um,
For
yeah,
the draft.
I, we're still, that now I'm starting to hear. I started to hear. Let me back up for a second. That Tampa Bay might be looking at Bijan Robinson. If they took him, if the Buccaneers took him, and it would kind of make sense, that they're not believing in Rashad White or something like that. So,
Hmm.
um, I think I don't know. You got to give the guy a chance. So I would probably, if I had the pick, if I had the 111 pick, I think I would. Yeah, I would trade for Rashad White
Yeah.
and just
I
see
think
what
I,
happens.
yeah. Assuming I was a competing team, I would definitely do it for Chubb or Henry. This is how you stay relevant in fantasy football. It's like, well, I'm going for the championship. I think those guys are both going to have good years. Rashad White, pre-draft, pre-NFL draft, I don't think I'm doing because I'm worried about them just taking someone else in the first or second round. And then that's, could be the end of Rashad White. If you told me after the draft they didn't take anyone in the first 3-4 rounds, then I'm fine with that. Marquise Brown, I'm good with too because you're getting a combination of like a good player. Like if we're being completely honest, um, we would be pretty happy if one of these receivers here turns into like a Marquise Brown type, not the same style receiver, but in terms of what he's produced over his first 2-3 years when healthy, right? So like that's kind of how I look at it. Plus, he's going to be 26 here soon. You're still getting some youth there, so I'm okay with it. A couple more before we wrap up. Dad, would you do the 111 and Dallas Goddard for Mark Andrews
Okay, the 111
and
and
Goddard?
Dallas Goddard
Mm-hmm.
for Mark Andrews. Um, no, I would not.
No, no, all the way around. If you're rebuilding, competing.
Yeah, I think I would stick with the pick and stick with the tight end. Going to get enough. There's some. Lamar's probably going to play in Baltimore this year, so at least one more year. So you think Mark Andrews? Those guys are they're kind of linked at the hip a little bit. It seems like, and the production side. But after this year, who knows what's going to happen? So I
Mm-hmm.
think I'd take my chance and stick with the draft pick and Dallas Goddard, and then try and
Yeah.
roll. Not just like we said, would be a perfect opportunity to pick another tight end. If you think that's the best person available. So
Mm-hmm. Okay. Um, yeah, I think one more 111 and Christian Watson for Saquon Barkley, Dad. If you're doing that as a competing team, would you do that? I think a rebuilding team you wouldn't do that, but as a team that's competing, do you want Saquon over Watson in the 111?
yeah,
Christian.
I'm not a. I know this sounds stupid. I'm not a Saquon fan, I guess, and I know he had a good year last year, and which was great to see because I like the way the guy plays and everything else, but I think I'd stick with my 111 and Christian Watson and just see what happens.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think I would probably, if it's a 12 team league, Watson's going to be more valuable because it's deeper rosters. I'd probably keep Watson in the 111 just because I think Watson's going to take a step up, and B, I don't think the difference between Watson and potentially what you get at 111 is going to be that great between him and Barkley. Barkley got one more year in his current situation, and then who knows? All right, well, I think we'll wrap it up there, and we'll be back finishing up with the 112, and we're excited for the draft, and we'll catch you guys soon.